not even here. It's his fault anymore. Mine was too long downstairs.
There you go.
Hi. Hi, how are you doing? Good to see you again.
Did you get your plate okay?
Yes, thank
You
you.
like it?
Yes, he really thought it looked really good.
I was thinking it was for your cattle.
No, it's for his truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is 12:30. I apologize for the late start, but this is what we told the world, so let's go ahead and get this show going. This meeting will be conducted in compliance with Nebraska's open meeting laws. A copy of this is on the wall. We have 3 items on our agenda, and we will start first with an energy audit presentation from RWH Energy. Shane Osborne. Welcome, Shane. Nice
Thank you.
here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I'll give you I think you're pretty familiar with my company, but I'll just give you a little background on RWH Energy. We're a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business made up of 100% combat veterans. Started this business after I was state treasurer and got in on the finance side of energy projects and then moved into the energy services side. And so it's been a unique business. We kind of started this path. Oh,
So you said that,
should I keep talking?
Okay,
sorry.
might as well wait
So-
a minute.
Okay.
Oh, you're not here.
And your food's in here, but we've already started the meeting without you.
Okay, and you can't eat during the meeting?
I'm not going to, but he can.
No. Mark.
Excuse me, Shane was just giving us a little background on
No, I'm just looking for it.
RWH.
I got a seat, I'm looking for it.
Okay, we'll try again. Go ahead, Shane.
so-
The floor is yours.
RWH Energy is my company. We're a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business made up of 100% veterans. I'm a Navy veteran and started the company a little over 4 years ago. And we do energy services, green energy, but they pay for themselves. That's the key to our project. So we go in and analyze the utility usage, do high-level engineering, and then more micro-level engineering later, and package a project together that pays for itself through the savings. So that's a unique aspect of what we do at RWH. It's we've different kinds of clients from correction facilities to federal buildings, FBI buildings, Social Security Administration, VAs, University of Oklahoma City was a client of ours, and so while I live here in Waterloo, we're all over the country, also doing solar. So the conversation started with Sheriff Dunning about a year, 14 months ago, and he introduced me to Dr. Foxall, and we met and sat down, and he really loved the idea of us going through the facility and finding what we call low-hanging fruit, LED lighting, water savings, as opposed to higher cost, longer payback times. We try to keep things to 5 years or less. So they not only pay for themselves, they pay for themselves quickly. And then the facility owns that equipment and gets a pretty good ROI, return on their investment, of usually 30+%. So it's very compelling. It's green, pays for itself. LED lighting helps with safety, especially when you're talking about a correctional facility. And we also source mostly U.S.-made products. In this case, what we're talking about with the correctional facility, we'd use the Unicor contract and find a U.S. producer and it'd be made in prison. So we started with Dr. Foxall in March of 18. They had a lot going on, as you all know, over there, so we kind of hit the pause button. I've known Jerry for a long time, so we've been talking off and on about when it's good timing to maybe do a high-level preview of the correctional facility. We're certain there's a very good project there. There's a need. Obviously, correctional facilities are open 24/7, so they're high energy use. And water as well. So the paybacks are even quicker in those types of facilities, hospitals, etc., where they're always on. And the neat thing is we bring the capital to the table as well. So there is no operational budget change. So let's just say, for simplicity, you're spending $100 a month on utilities. Well, we'll come in, upgrade, give you all new equipment, and you're still spending $100 on utilities, but that savings is what pays for the project and is guaranteed to pay for the project. So there's engineering behind this. We're not just thumb in the air wagging it. We actually have Department of Energy standards that we use and agreed upon savings. So we've moved forward and talked to several of you commissioners about doing a high-level project. So it's kind of in 3 tiers. So what we start out is we take a general look. We look back at your utilities for 24 months, do an assessment of the facility, high-level walkthrough, and come back to you with, is there a project, right? We'll give you a presentation. At this point, there's no obligation, there's no cost, there's nothing to it except for we're gonna present something to you that is gonna be plus or minus usually about 3%. We say 5 to 10, but we've got it down pretty well. And then we'll come back to the committee and say, here's what we can do, here's how much money we can save, here's the ROI over the years. The savings and maintenance is also important too. And then that's the point where you commit moving forward. And then we go into what's called an investment grade audit. So then we bring engineers in, we count every light bulb, we look at everything in that facility, dig through it and come back with something that's actually financeable. There's different financing mechanisms. So if you then say, okay, we hit our numbers, the savings are there, this project makes sense to us, and as we move forward, we do different financing mechanisms. If you have the money, you can just write a check for the project, of course, but that's usually not the case, right? And so we have different ways of bankable where it can be on book or off book for whatever the facility is, or for the entity that's doing the project. So we essentially do a modified lighting as a service agreement, and that's one that's off book. It's just like outsourcing your janitorial service or your trash service. You just pay a monthly fee for a certain number of years, and then you take over the equipment. But that's further down the road. I just wanted to give you a general overview of what we're doing. We've been talking with Jerry. We're going to go ahead and at least look into just doing a high level look at what you've got there, and then bring you back something more concrete that we can start talking numbers and see what makes sense.
Patrick.
So when you say a high level look, what are you, can you specify what that means?
We're gonna try to get building diagrams, utilities, 12 to 24 months of past utilities, and then we'll bring probably 3 people in and walk the facility, and we're just gonna take a look and see what you're using for lighting, water usage, etc. But just by the building diagrams, utilities, we can tell a lot.
You're asking for permission from the board to do that, is what you're not saying that you're gonna go do that, you're asking for permission to go do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and that, just to complicate things, because that's part of my job, is complicate things. And just the board may or may not know, there's another company that recently approached us wanting to do the same thing. It's out of Kansas City. So just so you are aware that this is, I personally think this is a great idea, but there is another company out there as well that wants to do it. So you just have to keep that in mind.
Thank you. Commissioner Kraft.
As I recall,
I shouldn't give you lunch and then call on you this week, I can see that.
as I recall, we did that deliberately. We had a similar talk, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where somebody wanted to come into an energy audit. Was that your firm?
No. We had OPPD.
Yeah, I was gonna say
OPPD has done
OPPD
it for the
came.
building commission.
OPPD, and let me remind you that I and OPPD got shot down 4-3. Then they approached them, they took the deal, and they got the energy audit, they got the Energy Star.
Oh, yeah, we have
We
all
could have
kinds of
had-
plaques and awards, it's great.
Some of these people are no longer on the board, but they didn't want to do it.
And we are in discussions with Pat and doing the similar here in this building as well as the courthouse.
Does OPPD still do it?
They do not.
I don't think so.
No.
I like what you're pitching. It's a no lose from the counties. Although, what Patrick points out is, if we want to do business with you at some point, we're going to have to go through an RFP process and allow others the opportunity.
Sure.
I like everything about you, and I think you would compete well. But I think that is something we would have to do. I also think we run a pretty good program here, and so in the back of my mind, I kind of think you're probably not going to find a whole lot. I kind of hope, but then anything you find is worth finding.
Sure.
I think we run pretty good buildings in terms of the.
You run great buildings. We've been through this facility and great buildings. But there are some improvements that are needed.
Always room for
Yeah,
improvement,
there-
and I would love to get an expert
And
opinion on
that's a little bit of difference between RWH and maybe the other company that came in, because we've worked with them in the past. So
Okay.
it's a big project where I can't bond it myself and do it. We bring in a big brother. I'll give you an example. We're doing all the VA facilities, veterans homes in Oklahoma for them. So we had to come in because they needed a GSA contract to do it. So we did a turnkey project, brought in the large energy services company. They took our price and took 1.5%, 1.5 times it, and that's the price they gave. And I just said, so they're not even guaranteeing the savings.
Oh, my.
They're not engineering, we're in charge of it.
Okay.
So I'm just giving you an idea. I don't mind competing for an RFP. Let's just
Yeah,
put it that way.
I think we would have to do that.
Yeah, I don't mind at all.
Commissioner Morgan.
I was gonna ask Jerry this, do we have to take the low bidder in this case?
No,
No, the
Okay, that's
professional.
good, because I
it's a
think that way we can look and be sure.
So,
professional services.
Very good.
and what we look at doing this, and there are other, I don't wanna get into the weeds, but there are interlocal purchasing agreements that we've contemplated using with the city county tips, we're on that.
Okay.
So that's already been a 2.5-year RFP process, we've gone through that, it meets all the state guidelines, we're actually talking to the Department of Administrative Services and using that, they suggested using it to avoid an RFP, because that's got several energy services companies, it's not just my company, of course, there's several on there that you can use where it's already been, and that streamlines the process, but if we need to do an RFP, that's
Well,
fine. as well.
anything you got on that, I'd be curious
Yeah,
to see.
yeah, we can show you that, but the big thing, I think, between
We're
us, the
not a
big,
county attorney here anyway, we can do whatever we want.
the big thing is what we look at is, we don't build any of this equipment. I don't have one manufacturer that I just work with, things like that. And I also, I wanna keep paybacks 5 years or less. My competitors wanna do 15-year deals so they can put as much stuff in this as possible, right? And start making the project much larger. What I'm looking to do is get you that immediate savings, then you get this savings, we pay out the project, and now that frees up cash flow to go do other projects that you wanna do. Not just to see how big we can make this thing, and then the engineering, instead of a lighting water, which you can get in and out in a few months, now you're talking years of construction. I think there's some fatigue already with that going on. So what we're trying to do is get in and get out and be as efficient and get the lowest hanging fruit possible.
Very good. Trustee, or Commissioner Morgan.
Well, I'm in full support of this, and I think that even having look at the correction facility, but I also think about our health center, having that conversation or having that, start at the 10,000-foot level and see what we can find. Anything that potentially is cost savings and then of course has a short return on investment is wonderful. So I'm anxious to see what you come up with.
Okay, great.
Very good. Great. Other comments, questions? Okay. All right. What would be the next step? Patrick?
Well, the next step would be I don't think it needs to go through the county board, but I think it just he needs to work with Jerry to get in and get the drawings and then do the walkthrough. If I, Jerry, you can correct me if I'm saying anything out of turn, but then the other thing is if that other company comes forward,
Well, they can do an analysis too.
We just say that they can go walk through if they want to as well, I guess. Rather than having them come before the committee to give the same.
Fine, I'm fine with that. I mean, if that works, that's sure the simplest thing.
Well, it's not unusual for professional services that we don't have to go back to the board every time we meet. And I was gonna suggest, Shane, one of your partners, when you presented to Jeff and I, and maybe to Pat and Paul, the energy company out of,
Energi
yeah, NG or?
and NG, yeah, there
NG.
were two of them, but yeah.
It was so impressive, not just me, but Jeff McGill, who you know has been in construction for 30 years. He said, that guy, not that guy.
I'm on the finance side.
He said, that guy knows his stuff.
Yeah, that was actually my partner Brant that you're talking about. He's a Marine.
Very impressive.
Was a Marine, is a Marine.
Commissioner Kraft.
Where is your company located?
Here, in Omaha.
And you live in Waterloo?
I'm in Waterloo,
Yeah,
out of West
what?
Shores. Doing the fun drive every day, taking the kids in and out of town for school, and boy, am I putting some miles on.
I'll bet.
A lot of car washes, but we got lucky, I mean, compared to,
Valley.
yeah. And my wife's from Glenwood, so, back and forth taking water.
Yeah, that's even.
So, yes, we're local.
Did they tell you something?
What?
I overheard somebody saying the school might have one.
Oh, they'll have to kick me out if they do. I haven't heard Well, Jerry, what do we do now? I mean, Patrick,
No, I think we just, we do some of the things we discussed, and at some point, if we do the RFP, we do the RFP.
but we can do the walkthrough and stuff first and
Yeah, I
have
think
them
so.
get an idea,
Yeah.
is there low hanging
And,
fruit
and
worth
and
going
we've already
for?
talked about what we have done that you mentioned, bond projects with the geothermal. They understand that part, but like he says, the low hanging fruit and the water, and there's some other systems that, so, as you know, and Mike is here, we have an old side, we have an annex, and we have the new addition. So, for example, we're doing LED with the bond project on the old side, but the entire new side has no LED whatsoever, and it's the biggest square foot number, correct?
Correct.
So, there you go.
Why are we, that seems odd. I mean,
Well, but remember, the phases for down there had to do with HVAC,
okay,
along with lighting, along with the plexiglass that was so destroyed, if you remember, the line of sight. Now you throw in LED lighting, and it's it's a safety issue that you and I have talked about. It's a safety issue for his people, and now it's all to the positive, but there's more to do.
well, if that satisfies the legal requirements that any other companies that would be interested in competing, we just give them the same opportunity to do a walkthrough and tell us what they find. In light of that, it seemed like we ought to go forward and see what they can do. Is that,
Yep,
Mary Ann?
good.
Does that work?
Yep.
Okay, all right, very good.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it very much.
Scott, started to
Thank
kill
you.
your whole day just for,
You got the county government 101, Shane.
whether you wanted it or not.
Hey, Claire,
It was just the right amount, Scott.
I guess that there is a JDI meeting at 1:15 in here, so I suggest we do the smoking thing first and then the maple camp stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I have every intention of being out of here by 1:15 anyway. So, okay, so you're saying do the smoke-free first?
That's what I would ask, just in case we run out of time.
You here for the smoke-free?
Yes.
Okay, let's start discussion. Who has anything to say about,
Well, the request,
besides Mark Kraft, who has anything
the
to
request
say?
was from Extension to go smoke-free at the Extension campus. And so then that just brought up the issue about smoke-free, because the only smoke-free we have right now is the health center campus that's between, I think, like Pacific and Woolworth. So
But
then
we
that
still allow employees to go up to the sidewalk on the street to smoke. I think, don't we? I thought they had to go across the street, they can't be in front of the doors.
no.
So there's a map. So it's just the health center, community mental health center areas. So would it be Woolworth?
Right.
Yeah, Pacific.
And then it goes over to where the youth center is. And so the youth center and the health department and the HHS is not a part of it.
All right,
So there's an area where people smoke kind of between the youth center and the health center.
Right.
The sidewalks in front of the health center
Those are,
should be included in our.
out on the street, on the Woolworth?
I think so.
Yeah,
Oh, we have people from the VA coming over to smoke on our side.
that's why
Well,
we do that.
that's what he brought up yesterday at the Board of Trustees meeting.
All right, Commissioner Boyd.
I think, I am always concerned about people who, a former smoker, who 2 weeks ago found himself reaching for a cigarette after 40 years. I really feel badly for people who are, first of all, being treated for mental illness and who are elderly and have smoked all their lives and all that stuff. I think we ought to do is send them way over by the field club golf course, send them way, seriously, on the backside of our warehouse over there, get them way out of the way. And I don't care if VA comes over there too, for that matter. But I think people it's gonna be difficult to break smoking. Otherwise, I mean, I really am not in favor of a whole total ban. I understand why it should be that way, but if you go down to UP, the people are standing across the street in front of the park, because they're not allowed to do that, and that's what VA is doing to us. So why don't we just send them all down to the park, someplace that's, I guess maybe put an emergency phone in there in case somebody's attacked. But I mean, something, let's get them way out of the way. I'm not for total ban.
When the real issue then, it's the request comes from extension. So what do you do with the extension building? And then really that becomes an issue of all of the county-owned buildings.
I think there's some space out by extension where you could do something too that's far away from the building and way on the, maybe there's some grass out by the access road or someplace way out there where you can get away. Yesterday I had lunch at M's Pub and all the cooks were coming out and smoking right directly north of where I was sitting, and the smoke coming out. So I mean, if they're far enough away, that should be the way, that's what I'd look for. And I'm not sure, maybe it's not fair to not ban it everywhere, so I think smoking, but really a hell of a distance away from the area is what is in place. That's what I think ought to happen.
Commissioner Kraft.
Jane, are they going into the courtyard to smoke?
They're not entering the courtyard. We've had maybe one individual accidentally take a cigarette in there, and our team had asked them to put it out. They're right in front of the door, the main door.
I'm in favor of making your campus smoke-free. I'm in favor of making all of our buildings, the buildings are already, all of the grounds we own smoke-free. As the DA said, they're gonna do that on their property starting October 1st. I think it was, somewhere around. And they're gonna give their employees 3 months' worth of smoke cessation acts, if I remember correctly. Isn't that what he said? Okay. We should do the same thing. Help them, encourage them to stop smoking. And we can start 3 months before the campus. I am smoke reactive now. I've had a number of heart intrusions and surgeries starting in 1990. Prior to 1990, I played in bands at the smokiest places you could imagine. Now, I can walk by a door of somebody who smokes, or if they're smoking on their porch, I can feel my heart start to react because it makes your capillaries shrink. And a major cause of SID is secondhand smoke. So I've had people who come into hire, looking for a job in my store, and they sit across the table like Diane here, and I'd have to say, hey, I need you to go 2 tables down. And I can tell you now I can't hire you because I can't work with you. Because I'd start having angina just from the smoke that's coming from their clothing. Well, I don't have to smoke. I don't have to smoke well. I know too well that they do. So I'm in favor of it throughout the county.
I can see right now that if we want to be out of here in 20 minutes, we aren't going to get this one completely resolved.
I'm just stating an opinion, doesn't mean I'm gonna win.
We don't want to win any, it makes your head grow.
No, but I want to be respectful of Jane. I mean, if this is what, Jim, you have
I
something?
wanted to ask a question. I've had employees approach me about, out at our new facility, if they can smoke in their car, would that be an exclusion for this, or is that part of the?
If you don't allow smoking on the campus, you don't even allow them to smoke in their
In their
car,
own
which
car.
to me is going overboard. But that's
Just
me.
clarifying.
You know. Well, what do we do?
Well, you reach a consensus and then bring something to the county board for action, or if there's no consensus, then nothing gets brought forward.
All right.
Mary
Mary
Ann
Ann?
had something.
Well, being a former smoker as well, I'm not as big on mandatory across the entire county. I think it's office by office, department by department. Just come forward and let us talk about it, rather than just this blanket approach to it. So right now, Jane is asking, and I think we weigh the pros and the
I would
cons.
accommodate her, obviously.
The pros and the cons, and then decide if we want to grant the no smoking at that request, and then move on to get one who comes up. There may not ever be another one that comes up, who knows?
PJ.
Is never a smoker. Tim, it's nice you're here. Do you have an opinion about it? anything you wanna suggest to us?
Well,
Kind
you
of
know,
a,
we're constantly battling with how many breaks they get. The ones who are addicted to cigarettes
Yeah.
want to go out and have a break, or they have some serious reactions. For instance, at our 156th Maple location, we have a lot of green space, but we wouldn't want anybody smoking anywhere near our doors because of cigarette butts as much as smoke. It
Yeah.
just looks terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I know we have 2 or 3 that smoke out there. And what they do is they go for a walk and they start walking around the drive there. But I guess that would be excluded too if.
You'll have butts all over the place. You'll have cigarette butts all
Well,
over
they'd
the
have to
drive.
find
You'll have,
a place to put them.
I'm not actually here for the smoking part of this.
Okay,
I guess what I'm saying is, I like what Mary Ann says, each place individually and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think if we can come up with options where somebody can get way away from it and smoke, I don't know about these breaks, that's always a tough deal.
Yeah.
I'm a non-smoker, how come I don't get a 15-minute break?
Exactly.
That's tough, I don't know how you do that. But I'm really opposed to stomping down on everybody. I think if you can get far enough away and smoke, so be it. You know, you'll die eventually, so we all will. So, I mean, I just think that some people are really still addicted to it, myself probably included, after 40 years.
and that's pretty much where I am. I would love it if you could find a little 3-by-3 foot spot in the corner of your property and say, that's where the smokers have to go, something like that. You don't have to do that, but I'd be more comfortable.
And have a
So,
place to put the butts.
but we still have to
absolutely, that's
come
a
up
big-
with something. We still have to come up with some action. What are we going to put on the county board agenda?
Let's, to start with, let's just put that.
Just put
Yeah,
it
just put
I know, but to do what?
with,
Make the
Well,
complete
either
area
go
non-smoking?
smoke-free or have a little designated area. I leave that up to you.
I think
however
that,
hey, Jane, is that a University of Nebraska policy?
University of Nebraska is a smoke-free campus.
So it's a joint use facility, so you could have that.
Sarpy County is there, so there's Sarpy County employees there, and we don't know how they feel, Nebraska, but it's a joint use facility, but it's a county-owned property, so we could say that the entire property is smoke-free. If they wanna go across the street and smoke, or, you know, if they wanna go to the parking lot in the adjacent building and smoke, then they can do that. I mean,
Well, that's designated a center of, the center of Center Street for them.
I would just say,
Did your mom tell you never to play in the street, Mark?
the defined geographical boundary, legal boundary of that property owned by Douglas County will be smoke-free. And so people will just have to go across to the next parking lot.
well, except I don't know if you can do that, like, I don't know if the whole place should be smoke-free, because if you, like at Douglas County Hospital, if they're standing on the very edge of the property, that would be smoke-free. So I think the alternative is something that Mary Ann brought up and PJ and I both agree with, that is have a spot far, far away from people, and have a place to put the butts, and let them walk way over there and smoke, and then come on back. You know what I mean? That's what I think the solution is, I think.
That's what some of the airports do too, they have a
Right.
special room that they can go and do that's pretty vented.
Do you have any idea
That's
what
it.
that would be?
So in the back of the parking lot, southwest portion.
Yeah, that's probably the best
That's
place
right.
because there's a
Yeah.
sidewalk
Right.
there.
So put that on the agenda, Patrick.
I
Each-
think-
Would
everybody's
work,
gonna make a
maybe.
suggestion.
Yeah,
I mean, look at it.
sure. Our other
Well,
challenge
I'll put it,
is,
once you get back to me, then I can put it on the
Okay.
agenda, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, I was gonna say, the whole genesis of this came from seeking one of those cigarette urns rather than the open, old 1960s
Yeah.
rusted out ashtray we have. Our problem would still be who maintains it.
To what?
Who maintains
Who
the
cleans the
cigarette,
building?
exactly, because I've been told by Dave Peterson that public properties would not maintain it, and that the janitorial staff does not maintain those, which would mean someone on our staff would have to clean it.
They're gonna have to charge us $10 more to maintain it.
Yeah, so
That's
I,
ridiculous.
that's what I'm looking for, is
Yeah.
just to find out how that would be resolved.
Yeah, that's, money will resolve it, $10.
Jerry, what do we do on the maintenance? Who empties
well,
that?
you know, you don't have that many employees that smoke.
No,
But it's people that come and
It's
use the
visitors.
visitors, cause people,
Well, you know,
groups
the
rent out
little, the
those.
little thing, you know, the put out thing, the little,
Yeah.
what do they call them now?
That's no smoking, isn't it? Just no smoking, but the only place, it's a no smoking facility except for that little square
Except for
back in
that
the
part.
back. So customers coming in, I can't walk in and go, hey, you know,
Well, so the visitors would have to know, be on notice
Well,
that
big
the,
sign, no, this is a no smoking facility.
Wow.
That's becoming the norm.
I was gonna say, that
Well,
is,
it'd be
yeah,
passed
everybody.
at board meetings
We'll-
that
Pat,
our campuses
we'll
are
resolve.
smoke-free
Yeah.
except
we'll just
for
work it out, come up with a map
That's it,
and
exactly.
give it to me and then I'll get on the agenda.
He
Okay,
says,
thank
he said it right, our campuses are non-smoking except for the designated area.
Right.
That's what the
And
resolution
then there'll have
is.
to be some way to direct them to that area, like a map or something.
Okay,
All right,
thanks.
does that give us
Okay,
enough
we got-
to move forward on?
Totally fine, thank you.
Now, should we take a cigarette break before?
Yeah, that's good.
I gotta go a long ways away though. Excuse me. West Naval campus update.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a quick update, and I'm gonna turn it over to Tim and David, but, last week we moved 3 departments in the Fitzgerald property. County treasurer, emergency management, and environmental services. You opened up your branch last Thursday, I believe. And we're on the last portion of the technology part of David's operation. So we have to do it right. It's a big move for him. And everything has to connect, and then I'll let you take it from here, or you on your opening.
Well, like Jerry said, we opened for operation last Thursday. And as far as IT systems, worked perfectly well. We did have an issue yesterday, but it was a state issue with the communication line, and they quickly figured that out what it was. We've been busy already, if you can believe that or not. We've had lines. We wait on them very quickly though, so. We are anxiously awaiting permanent signage at our facility, because without it, customers have a difficult time figuring out which door to go in. So Jerry has arranged for some temporary signage to lead taxpayers onto the property and to the correct door. My office put up paper signs on the windows, which aren't the best, but they'll disappear when we get the permanent signage. I want to invite everybody to our grand opening Thursday, that's the day after tomorrow, at 10 a.m. for ribbon cutting. So, if you just let me know, you don't have to RSVP, but I'd appreciate it. I think you already have, Mike.
I did, okay.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, good.
We handled that issue with the licensed drivers.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So, we'd love to have all of you at 10 a.m. Thursday out at 153rd in Maple.
153rd?
That's actually where the entrance off Maple is. You
Oh, is
can
it?
come
You
in
don't
off
go
of
around?
156
You
also.
don't take 156?
Either way.
You know,
But we encourage Maple, because
Yeah.
if you come in off 156, there's a lot of heavy trucks that come in and out of there.
Okay.
So,
I'll be there.
we want to extend our appreciation to Jerry and Jeff and his staff, Zach. They've just worked tirelessly to get this thing going so that we could open Thursday. And as you can imagine, with any new construction, there's little things that come up, such as handicap buttons. I just sent you something today
I
that,
saw it. I got it.
so little trim pieces, things like that. But we have a drive-through now, which we didn't have before at 108th and Maple, which is going to be very popular. So, anyway, thank you to the board and everyone involved in getting that bond issue passed that allowed us to do that. So, thank you.
Jerry gave me a tour last week of the facility, and wow.
Yeah, knock your socks
I mean,
off.
your space, 911, they are just gorgeous, just beautiful. Came out so
It's
nice.
great. If I can change my meetings around, I have a 10 o'clock meeting. I'm not sure if I can change it, but if I can, I'll be there,
Hope so.
because there's contingent.
Tim, I'll be there
Okay, terrific.
Thursday.
David?
As Jerry said, we're a little bit different than moving some office furniture over and connecting up to the IT. We have issues such as the regional radio system. We have our computer-aided dispatch system, our 911 telephone systems, and all of those things have to be fully installed and integrated. So, to do that, we're in that process now. We're doing the 911 telephone upgrade and changeover now. That's going on as we speak, hopefully done by the end of this month completely. We've got our furniture, administrative furniture on order to be delivered. I just found out yesterday, hopefully by mid-May, second or third week of May. But our big things is the integration of all these networks. We have to have our computer dispatch system, we have to have our radio systems and our telephone systems operating. But to do that, some of those systems, we're going to have to move the 911 center operations to the backup site in this building for approximately a week. Because that allows us time to take what we are gonna move over there now and put it into the new center. And get that going. So the furniture issue isn't for us, it's the issue. The radio consoles are there, it's all the connectivity. But the number one problem, or the concern for us is the redundancy, so that we do this seamlessly, so that, and all the testing is done ahead of time. In other words, so that there's a day or two of continuous run at the new 911 center, while the old, or our backup site is running at the same time. Because some of this IT equipment needs to be burned in. You just don't plug it in and hope that it's gonna play forever. So that's where we're at on it. And as far as open house and things like that, for us, it's not the biggest concern we have. We will let people know when that's available, but for our initial couple of weeks of operations over there, we're gonna wanna have it very sterile. And we're gonna wanna maintain that and monitor it very, very, very closely without interruption for a while.
Not ready for
Prime time, no, definitely, and that isn't how we wanna do it. So, in a nutshell, we wanna get it operational, and then we will move our operations to the backup site here and get that running, and in the meantime, test and make the new site completely operational and go from there.
We'll be done in just a few minutes.
Oh, Commissioner Boyle.
I was just gonna say we need to get started. Unfortunately, our very competent director is going down to Arkansas to run the Bill Clinton Library. And, no, he's going down to his farms. I got that confused. But anyway, we do need to, because he's leaving, when are you leaving?
May 31st is my last.
I think we need to get going on getting someone to replace him so he can do what didn't happen to him, I believe, and that is have some passage of information on, so he doesn't, whoever we bring in doesn't drop out of the sky like he had to. So,
Strongly agree with Mike.
yeah, we need to get that going.
Yep.
Yeah, I really don't wanna comment on that right now, cause it's not on the agenda. and that's
Oh, well,
something we didn't
it's
like.
kind of with 911, what's going on with your new facility.
Yeah. I could certainly talk about that.
Well, just put it in the back of your mind, forget I said it, but
We can
remember.
put it on HR.
Just don't respond because it wasn't on the agenda.
Yeah, that's right.
Mary Ann?
So, do you have a timeline, date, you think?
I think that,
Not to, well,
no, you go ahead.
no, I can't speak, but, you know, somewhere in that first, second week of May, possibly.
I think it's gonna be end of May.
And that's fine, that's
And-
fine.
okay.
We don't
At least
wanna,
end of May.
there's no need to rush.
No, absolutely
We got the
not.
backup.
No.
But just a comment on his staff, they're in love, correct?
With the building?
With their.
With their new
furniture,
space.
With the new equipment,
Oh, it's gorgeous
the
space.
consoles
Mm-hmm.
and so forth, I shouldn't speak for you, but I think when we did this whole project, we talked about more lighting, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and just a more, because of the nature of their business, the calls they take,
Mm-hmm.
we have those, what do we call them?
Quiet rooms.
Quiet rooms? I mean, these people, if they have a horrible call, they can get away. They can get away and just take 10.
Is the furniture the kind you can stand up
Yep.
like Mary Ann
Yes,
has?
Yep.
yes,
Good.
yes it
I'm
is.
glad you got those.
Commissioner
Two
Kraft?
levels.
Made sure that they were that,
It's-
yep,
It's
That's great,
yep.
state of the art, right?
good.
Well, state of the art, what about the equipment? Since we started this project, have there been any new technologies or programs or anything that?
Just had a quick question, we've got the room for 4 more minutes.
Yeah, and good question. I think that we've incorporated all the new technologies that I'm aware of.
Correct.
The vendors we have here are very, it's the latest
That's all
and
I
greatest.
need.
Okay, very good. Yeah, all right. Anything else for the good of the cause?
Motion to adjourn.
We're out of here. All in favor can signify by leaving, those opposed can stay.